I'll give you an example. In March of 2018, the Independent Forensic Expert Group, we actually conducted medical legal evaluations in Senegal of two journalists, two Gambian journalists who had fled there, right, from Gambia following torture to Senegal and had been living there for over 8 years. And finally, 8 years later, they decided that they wanted to file a case to the Economic Community of West African States Court of Justice, the ECOWAS Court. So we were asked to do a medical legal evaluation. The question is simply, tell us if they've been tortured. Okay, was this person tortured or not? Do these photographs show that they were tortured, right? But the reality is the value of a medical legal evaluation is much more than, or should be much more than, telling us if the individual was tortured or not. So, for example, with this ECOWAS case, the purpose was two things. Why did it take this individual 8 years to finally file a case? And how do we demonstrate that he's still tortured, even though the guy's already living in Senegal, which is, right, by most accounts, if you've been to Dakar, a much nicer place to be than in Gambia. So through the medical legal evaluation, we were able to demonstrate that, in fact, the individual's psychological state had been getting worse, that he had been in Senegal for almost 6 or 7 years, 8 years, and he was psychologically deteriorating. Because of the loss of social links, right? Because of the loss of, he was a very well-esteemed journalist in the past, because of his separation from his family, because the fact that, he often had to skip meals, right? Because he couldn't afford to eat, that his PTSD, right? His psychological trauma was actually insisting and was actually becoming aggravated, even 8 years later. We were also able to demonstrate that he had many psychosomatic issues, right? That he had many physical problems, many that seemed to be linked to the specific torture acts, but many that were not. And because of it, the ECOWAS court, as some of you I think know, became one of the first international courts to finally rule that forced exile is a harm or injury that results from torture, right? So the fact that one has to flee and the subsequent injuries or the subsequent trauma that one experiences, even when they are in another country, is a specific injury that results from torture and should be remedied as part of the Torture Act. So in many ways, the medical legal evaluation itself is not just about, is the person tortured or not, but it's meant to add value to and help the court and others understand the experience of torture.